Hello, everyone, and welcome to Cinema Lives, Episode 8. And today I'm reviewing Steven Soderbergh's The Christophers, and I'll also be talking about a few other things I watched. So, to start things off, I saw Steven Soderbergh's The Christophers at AMC Pacific Place, downtown Seattle, and I like going to that theater. I don't know if I said this on another episode already, but it's just easy. You get on the light rail, and then you're right at AMC Pacific Place once you hit downtown. And so that's some minutia for you about going to theaters for me locally. But yeah, I saw The Christophers, and this stars Ian McKellen and another actress who I don't know the name of, but I enjoyed it. I really liked the connection between Ian McKellen and the main actress, and I liked how it was sort of, it starts off as that character, the actress, ripping him off in ways, but then they sort of, once he gets privy to what's going on, he bonds with her, and unexpectedly, and they end up helping each other, and basically James Corden's also in the film. I know he's like pretty much hated by everybody. I don't think his talk show is even on anymore, but I guess he's going back to doing some acting. And I don't mind him. I'm not saying I like him as an actor or love him, but I don't think he's terrible. But in this, him and another person play the children of Ian McKellen's character, and they're sort of using the main character to get into this relationship with him. Not a relationship, but like to talk to him about his paintings and whatnot as a part of a scheme to sort of take back ownership so they can make tons of money off his paintings. Or because I guess they think he's going to pass away soon. So they want, inheritance and like control over this work so they can make money off of all of his paintings, because his paintings are very popular and worth a lot. But yeah, it sort of turns into like a heisty kind of thing in a way. I don't really know if heist is the main word, or sorry, if that's the right word. But yeah, it's got a caper feel, and I enjoyed it. Steven Soderbergh's always good at that kind of thing, and I just think that Ian McKellen gave a fantastic performance. I haven't seen him in a lot other than like the X-Men movies lately, and I'm trying to think what else I've seen him in. I mean, obviously Ian McKellen's iconic, and he's in all the Lord of the Rings movies as Gandalf, which he's great in. I remember him also being in The Shadow, I'm pretty sure, with Alec Baldwin. But yeah, he's a great actor. Some of that stuff is probably below his talent, other than like the original Lord of the Rings movies. But like, he's done a ton of stuff. But I just thought this was a really good role for him. And yeah, I would give it a pretty solid 4 out of 5. I would recommend it. It's interesting because Steven Soderbergh basically makes a movie every year. There was a weird little period where he said he was going to retire, and then he got right back into banging out movies after a couple of years. And yeah, he makes movies all the time, and some of them are hits and some are misses, but I kind of like that in a director. One of my favorite directors is Robert Altman, and he has that quality where he made a ton of movies, and some of them were bad, some of them were mediocre, some were fantastic, and some of the best films ever. And that's kind of where Steven Soderbergh's at, I think. But yeah, I would recommend it. So I also saw Cave of Forgotten Dreams at Pacific Science Center here in Seattle. It was an IMAX 3D, and this is the Werner Herzog film from 2010. And it was, I liked the documentary. I would say that for sure. It was interesting because the 3D, I'm not particularly a fan of 3D. Seeing this, it was nice seeing the curvature of the caves, and seeing like there's this one shot where this part of the cave is coming down at you, and it's like paper thin, and sort of just seeing the minutia of this cave in 3D, that was really cool. And that's one of the cooler experiences I've had in 3D. But I thought it looked a little weird, and because I don't know if this is like, no, this was originally shot in 3D and released in 3D. But I think it was like there was a restoration that just happened for IMAX. And I thought some of the footage looked kind of weird, and maybe lower quality digital because it's from 2010, shot in 2009, I'm assuming. And yeah, it just, some of the images, not necessarily in the cave, but like just in other places, look kind of muddy and like just low quality. But I guess that's probably just the digital cameras at the time. And I don't mean terribly low quality, but just compared to stuff we see now. And so that and like the 3D was kind of giving me a headache because I'm just kind of prone to getting a headache from 3D. That's why I don't love 3D. It kind of makes me nauseous, and something has to be really special for me to go see a 3D movie. But I definitely enjoyed it. I have been wanting to see this for a long time. The paintings that they explore are fantastic. There's one of these horses that is like almost like photorealistic, and they sort of portray motion with like, you can see this like in comics, like they have multiple legs but they're grouped together, so it's portraying the animals running, or and Werner Herzog explains it as a sort of proto-cinema, as he says. And yeah, it is. If you think about it, these people hanging out in these caves thousands of years ago, sort of flashing around their torches and looking at these paintings, that is sort of early version of cinema for them, and that's really cool. But it was interesting too because the theater was packed, and seeing all these people come out for a Werner Herzog movie was very interesting and very cool. And people were laughing a lot at Werner Herzog's like weird things he says and just his eccentricities. But I enjoyed hearing people, laugh, and I think they were laughing with him. I hope. But like, yeah, I mean, Werner Herzog is obviously an odd guy. I mean, he's a famous eccentric, but he's a fantastic filmmaker and a fascinating person. And yeah, I liked the movie. It wasn't like one of my absolute favorite Werner Herzog movies, but I did like it a lot, and I would give it a 4 out of 5. And other than that, I watched Freaky Friday on Disney Plus, and that was interesting. It was the original Freaky Friday from the 70s with Jodie Foster, and the other actress's name, I could get this wrong, but I think it's Barbara Harris who plays her mom. But yeah, they switch bodies, and I found it surprisingly enjoyable. I had seen some bad ratings on Letterboxd. I mean, not like abysmal, but like just not great. And I just kind of enjoyed it for like a kitschy 70s family film. I thought it was a lot of fun, and Jodie Foster is great, like just in general as an actress. And I would recommend it if you like kind of kitschy 70s stuff. There's like a certain feeling to 70s family films. Like you can see it in a lot of the Disney movies like this, and there's like a movie called Super Dad with Bob Crane. And yeah, there's a movie called The Doberman Gang, which I really like. But like some of the family stuff from that decade has this weird kind of feeling to it. I don't even know how to explain it. It kind of reminds me of like a more polished TV movie in some like degrees, but I don't know, it's just kitschy and fun, and I enjoyed the movie. I would give that like a 3.5 out of 5. And I also watched Sleepwalk with Me from 2012, directed by Mike Birbiglia. And just to let you guys into some stuff, I'm working on some stand-up, and when I do these podcasts, I sort of just sit here and I improv. Like, I'm not writing any of this stuff. Some of like this could be for the worst, but like I just kind of go with off the top of my head, and I don't plan too much. I don't really plan at all, other than like picking what movies I'm going to talk about. So, and I've done some intros like on stage to movies, and I was writing some things down in my notes app and just doing some writing, and I thought like and I started coming up with ideas for jokes, and I thought that I could do a stand-up set. That's something I've always wanted to do. So I wrote a bunch of stuff, and I have I have about a 3-minute set, and that's about what an open mic night is. When you go to an open mic night, which is what I would be going to, because I don't have any comedic experience other than doing improv in high school. And yeah, so I was thinking about going to this open mic in Seattle, and I wrote all this stuff. I have a bunch of extra jokes too, and I was gonna do it, but I kind of got too anxious at the last minute, and I still went to that open mic night with some friends, but we just watched, and that was good to get the vibe of the place, and also just, see some comedy, and it was interesting. I haven't seen a ton of comedy shows in my life. I've seen a few, like, professional comedians. Like, I've seen Doug Benson, and I've seen Tim Heidecker, Neil Hamburger. But I think that's the first time I've ever been to an open mic night. I've also been to some, like, comedy sports and stuff, which is like improv shows. But yeah, I was very nervous, and it wasn't that my jokes weren't great. Like, I think they were good, but like I felt my delivery was off, and I felt like if I went up there, one, I didn't have it fully memorized. I know a lot of people look at notes when they're on stage, but two, I felt like my delivery, like I would just be stuttering through the whole thing from nervousness, and yeah, I need to take more time to work on that, and I really do want to do some stand-up soon. Anyway, the whole reason I talk about that is because I watched this movie, Sleepwalk with Me, by Mike Birbiglia, and I kind of watched it because I was in this stand-up comedy zone where I was interested in this kind of stuff, and yeah, it's a good movie. It premiered at Sundance. It's a little, feels like an early 2000s indie movie. I think it's produced by Ira Glass from This American Life. I don't know if at one point it was featured as a This American Life story, but that's a great classic radio show, and eventually a podcast like that started way back in the 90s. And yeah, this is just about Mike Birbiglia, sort of in a relationship with his girlfriend, going through troubles with her, doing stand-up comedy, and getting better at it, and getting used to that whole thing, and trying to become successful. And while within all of that, he has a sleepwalking disorder where he can get into dangerous situations when he's sleepwalking. Like at one point, he climbs up on top of a shelf when he's sleeping and ends up jumping off of it and like hitting his head on something, and kind of, and he's bleeding and stuff. So he can get into dangerous situations. So there is some tension that comes with that, and I don't want to spoil anything if you want to check this movie out. But it was good. I didn't absolutely love it, but I did think it was pretty decent for it was 2012, but it felt like it was like 2005 to me. But it felt like one of those 2000s indie flicks, but it was good for that kind of thing. Yeah, I would give that a 3.5 out of 5. And that's pretty much it, guys. Next week, I think I'm going to be talking about Mother Mary by David Lowery, and I was originally going to talk about Michael, but I'm just kind of not interested in that. I might watch it at home, but I don't think I'm going to check it out in the theater. But yeah, next week, Mother Mary, and some other things I watched. And if you enjoy my show, please like and subscribe on YouTube. Please check out my Patreon if you really enjoy and you would like to support me. It's patreon.com/cinemalives. Please subscribe on podcast formats like iTunes and wherever you can find podcasts. And if you'd like to send me an email, I just set up an email called Cinema Lives with no exclamation mark. There's an exclamation mark in the YouTube, but this one is just cinemalives@proton.me. And if you'd like to send anything to that email, I'd love to answer some of your questions or talk about topics that you would like to have talked about. So consider that, sending an email there. And that's pretty much it. Thanks, guys, for watching. Bye.